extreme in a lot of ways. Your good matchups get better, and your bad matchups can be tougher.
Certainly, and we see 2 main deck Obstinate Baloth, a nod to both Burn with the life gain and Liliana of the Veil with the enter the battlefield off the discard effect there. Not going to come into play against Joe.
Yeah, great cards against Burn and Jund, not good here. Now, in general, the Tron deck is a little faster than the Scapeshift deck. A turn 3 Karn, it's going to be all about how quickly Joe can blow up Adam Liu's lands. Karn and Ulamog are the most important cards from the Tron side.
Right, and you can get that -3 to Stone Rain with Karn the turn that you cast it. Adam would have to have a Lightning Bolt to clean up the Karn from that point.
And even then, the damage is done.
Right, and the second Karn would go a long way from that position.
Looks like Joe will go ahead and be on a mulligan to 6. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the red-green Scapeshift deck here. What is interesting about it is the ability to play cards like Lightning Bolt and Anger of the Gods and Obstinate Baloth in the main deck, despite the fact that you are more of a combo deck.
Yeah, you just have all the ram spells that you want to play. You play 26 lands, and then you end up with these flex slots. With the blue version, Cryptic Command and Remand are kind of slam dunks. You should probably just play those cards. And with red-green, you get the access to these less on-theme cards. You know, none of these cards draw cards. They're actually just trying to interact. So you pick your slots to interact with your opponent. Lightning Bolt's going to slow down your Birds of Paradise opponents. And we get the Obstinate Baloth for the aforementioned Burned and Jund matchups.
Yeah, it's interesting because your kill just uses lands. It's not a full package deal on the deck. You need to play 4 Primeval Titans. You need to play 4 copies of some other finisher, whether it's Scapeshift, Through the Breach, some extra Summoner's Pacts. So you need, you know, around 10 finishers. And then you need about 12 ramp spells. But the other cards you can do whatever you want to with.
Yeah.
More ramp spells past 12 doesn't really do much to help the deck. You just can't play them fast enough.
Right. Looks like Joe ended up on 5 cards for this game. He might have what he needs here, though.
Yeah, he will start out on Urza's Mine and an Expedition map. For Adam Liu, he will go ahead and suspend Search for Tomorrow, but he does so off Basic Forest.
Yeah, Basic Forest, this deck is all about getting that threshold of mountains. Casting your Primeval Titan, and you can win that game by just getting those Valakut triggers. You do need the 2 green sources to actually cast the Titan, but you would prefer they be red-green dual lands.
Yeah, Adam has picked some interesting dual lands. He has 1 Stomping Ground and 4 copies of Cinderglade. Now, this is what I'm excited about with this deck, is that those dual lands, if you remember, actually have both land types on them, so they count as mountains.
Right. The Cinderglades on later turns, they'll enter the battlefield untapped by meeting that requirement. The Stomping Ground, you only want that on turn 1, really.
So Joe on his turn, he missed his second land drop, played Chromatic Sphere. Adam's turn 2 play was Explore, which is a ramp spell of its own sometimes, and he actually played the third land of Valakut off it. That is the ideal situation for Explore.
Meanwhile, Joe on turn 2 missed his land drop. Looks like we found it for turn 3.
Yeah, Ancient Stirrings into Urza's Tower. And you see there's a Karn at the front of Joe's hand and an Expedition map in play. So it may be 2 turns down the road, but Karn will happen.
Yeah, he would have really wanted that to be turn 3. And with the 1 Tron piece, the Expedition map, he was set up to draw into it, but he may not have hit on time. Yeah,
Adam Liu all the way up to 5 here. He resolves Search for Tomorrow and actually chooses to go get the second Basic Forest.
Yeah, so this signals that he doesn't have green sources in his hand or access to more green mana.
Yeah, he needs 2 green from Primeval Titan. And what should be noted is that he has 4 lands, and Valakut itself is not a mountain.
Right. Not legendary either, despite being named.
Yeah, I believe that Valakut is the indigenous word for Molten Pinnacle, and that's my explanation as to why it's not legendary. You know, if you point up to the tall mountain, you'd be like, yes, this is Valakut. You point at it, and you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
So
there could be many Valakuts.
It's not like K2 or something like that.
No, it's, yeah, it's like, yeah, it just means, Valakut is a word that means large pinnacle.
It's one of those, you're going to go climb that Valakut range.
Exactly. Prismatic Omen played for Adam Liu, and now none of this matters that they're not mountains. Everything's a mountain, so he'll do that, play an Explorer, play a Cinderglade, and the Cinderglade will deal 3 damage to Joe.
Yep, the Valakut checking on controlling at least 5 mountains when a mountain enters the battlefield. Your 6th one will be your first Lightning Bolt. Yeah,
so with an Omen in play, the math is actually much easier on the Valakut deck. What it means is that for every land, 6 and beyond, deals 3 damage for every Valakut you have.
Right. Everything's very clean.
Also allows you to do tons of damage with Escape Shift. An Omen plus Escape Shift is usually upwards of 60 damage.
Right. Can't quite catch up with the Infinite Life combo, but can catch up with a deck like Soul Sisters, for example.
Sakura Tribe Elder from Adam will get a mountain that'll deal 3 more damage to Joe. As see, he had to crack Expedition Map to find another Tron piece. He puts it into play. He now will have Tron on next turn. It's still a ways away. Joe's hoping that Adam does not play something like Primeval Titan. That would be lethal on the spot.
Yeah, that would deal like 1,000 damage here.
Yeah, here's Primeval Titan. Joe just concede.
Yeah, so it would be 2 Valakuts entering the battlefield as mountains. That puts us up to 3 Valakuts total.
So they so the 2 triggers would put 2 Valakuts into play, which would deal 18.
Yep. Joe at 14.
All right,
more
easy
than enough. Yep.
Game 1 goes to Adam, Lou, and Escape Shift. So we'll go ahead and look at the sideboards. We'll start over on Joe Lossett's side first. We have 3 Thragtusk, 4 Nature's Claim, 3 Relic of Progenitus, 2 Relic of Progenitus rather, 3 Warping Whales, a Spellskite, and 2 Lightning Bolts.
Warping Whale will be good to counter either initial ramp spells, say Search for Tomorrow, more importantly Escape Shift down the road. I expect to see that those ones will come in.
Absolutely.
You could also make an argument for Thragtusk, not just to gain a little bit of life to force him to have the Prismatic Omen, but you can also get a clock on the battlefield.
Yeah, Thragtusk is interesting. I understand the point. In lots of times for Joe, it's going to be his exile effects or bust in this situation. One of the advantages to Red-Green Escape Shift is the deck is incredibly redundant.
It's a question of what Joe has to board out. He has
he might have some real losers.
He has 3 Fire Spouts, 2 Spellskites. We don't want these cards.
Spellskite is actually okay, as weird as that sounds.
You kind of gain a life for every Valakut iteration of 3 damage, as it were.
Yeah, it makes Valakuts deal 2 instead of 3. It's not good.
Right.
Okay, but
it also doesn't close the game. I think I would bias towards Thragtusk over Spellskite.
Yeah, I mean, we already have these Oblivion Stones we have to get rid of already, so
yeah,
maybe we just get to have all of them.
There's more nonsense than you might expect in Joe's deck that he wants to board out.
All right, on Adam's side, he has a Feed the Clan, a Malira Sylvac Outcast, 2 Spellskites, 2 Relic of Progenitus, 2 Sudden Shock, a Shatterstorm, 2 Nature's Claim, an Obstinate Bailoff, 2 Anger of the Gods, and a Pyroclasm.
So, Nature's Claim? I don't know. Nothing here looks very good to me.
So here's the interesting thing about the Red-Green Escape Shift deck, is that because you have such a you have a focused Game 1 game plan, and you don't play blue cards, the downside not playing blue cards is, whereas a blue Escape Shift deck would have Remand and Cryptic Command to kind of just deal with the bad matchups, right? You know, okay, I can Remand maybe something out of a Storm deck. I can Cryptic a Hexproof deck. You don't have any of that interaction. So what you have to do in your bad matchups is you find some really high impact sideboard cards, you board them in, and you hope to get people.
Right.
You know, like Sudden Shock. Okay, that comes in all of 1 matchup, Infex, but it's really good.
Yeah, so there are cards that make Remand and Cryptic Command bad. The issue is they're few and far between. They're named Aether Vial and Cavern of Souls.
Right.
With Lightning Bolt, there's a lot of things that you just don't want that card against.
So what you have to do in the Scape Shift, Red-Green Scape Shift deck is almost your entire sideboard is taken up of, well, I need this hate card for this bad matchup and this hate card for this matchup. And when you're done with that, you said, well, that's kind of my sideboard. Tron's not a bad matchup, so you just don't really board in anything for it.
Yeah, just shrug your shoulders.
If you had enough room, you might say, okay, I'll put some Crumble to Dusts in my sideboard.
Yeah.
That'd be fine.
We can cast that on turn 3 with our ramp spells, so.
If we had a 25 card sideboard, I think they'd be there. But space was limited, and this was not the priority.
Man, Control would certainly be a better option in Modern if we could have 25 card sideboards.
Jund would be so good.
Yeah, Grixis would be great, you're right.
Both those decks. Anything that just board out, yeah. All right, these players are going to get ready for game number 2 here. Now, we talked about that Invitational where Joe came so very close to qualifying for the Players' Championship. One person who did qualify for the Players' Championship was the Invitational champion, Max McVitie. And part of his reward is he got to have his likeness on a token. And for Max McVitie, the mechanical engineering student from Ann Arbor, Michigan, he chose the Clue token. You see him there cluing over this mechanical puzzle. I really like this art. Also, I like these decked out in Innistrad clothing.
Yeah, and it looks at first like he just kind of has a lamp on his shoulder, but you see the claws. Like, this is a living thing. I think that it needs a name.
Well, I'd have to ask Max what its name is.
We could ask Max, or we could have our viewers tweet at us with what we should name our lamp friend.
All right. All right. Send us, tweet at us at SCG Live. What is a good name for the little lamp guy? And if you want this card, come to any of our Season 2 opens starting at May 13th. That's our next open. It's a Modern Open in Indianapolis in 2 weeks. If you show up to any open or any classic, you'll get this token. Also, if those are out of the way and you still want to get your hands on one of these clues, go ahead and put an order at StarCityGames.com. They'll ship with any order of at least $5.
You'll want to get your hands on these. I know that I'm going to need clue tokens. I'm going to be playing Declaration in Stones, Thraben Inspectors.
Sure.
It's just going to come up. These ones are sweet.
What's that? Going back to mulliganing again here. It's a tough one for him. One thing which is an advantage to the red-green Scapeshift deck is it almost never mulligans.
Lands and spells that are lands. As long as you're making your land drops, you're kind of at home.
You have to ask what a mulligan would look like. Anything with, say, 4 lands, 3 spells, 3 lands, 4 spells is probably a keep because they're all the same.
Right.
It's like, well, this one has Explorers instead of Search for Tomorrows. Better mull that. Like, that's not real.
So tell me about 4 land, 3 Primeval Titan.
Okay, you found one. That one you mulligan.
Okay.
But
if we change any of those Titans into, say, Farseek, this is a keep.
Probably, yeah. Now I'm like, oh, come on, keep this. Right? The Titan's on turn 5. Every ramp spell I draw gets me a turn early. Like, that's a turn 5 Titan. I bet we can do better with our top 3 draws. A turn 4 Titan? A turn 4 Titan's a keep.
Yep.
All right, Joe kept on 6. And starts off on Ancient Stirrings off Grove of the Burn Willows. It's a win for Adam that Joe's first land was not a Tron piece.
Absolutely. We saw Joe kind of stumble on his way to Tron. Joe really just wants that turn 3 Karn here.
Don't be fooled by that tower-esque structure. That land that Joe found was Urza's Mine.
Joe's a deceptive individual.
Cinderglade tapped as a play for Lou. For Lossett, turn 2. Looks like it'll be a Sylvan Scrying.
Okay. We're fastly advancing towards Tron. These are good developments, much better than missing the land on turn 2 in game 1, for example.
He'll get Urza's Power Plant. I like that Power Plant art. I like the idea that you put some power wires on a bug, and that's what's powering your factory.
I would rather it was like power wires on a fern.
Out of a plant?
It's a power plant.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to make some sort of sustainable energy reference.
No.
But no.
My jokes are much worse than that.
Do you think this is a Firefly that you're hooking up to the power lines, you know?
That would make sense. That's cool.
Colony Heart Expedition is the play for Adam Liu. He'll pass back to Lossett. This is a slow ramp spell, but it is a big ramp spell. This common from Zendikar. If you just want to power out up to 7 lands as fast as possible, 2 lands for 1 card is the best rate in the deck.
If Joe brought in those Nature's Claims, this would be a great thing to tag.
That is the downside to this, is that sometimes your opponent blows up your ramp spell when you play this, and I'll tell you, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah, you lose some percentage points against Jund when you run this one out on turn 2.
Ugh.
Yep. That is bad news.
In some matchups, Adam will actually may board these out against Jund or play them very carefully. Wait till he has a couple fetch lands up.
A fetch land on the battlefield already, a land drop for the turn, and a ramp spell to go with it.
Chromatic Star for Lossett. He has Wormcoil Engine as the payoff in his hand. That one actually is not particularly good against Adam's deck.
Yeah, as we saw in game 1 with the Prismatic Omen, Adam can deal a lot of damage very quickly.
Yeah, the size 6/6 matches up very poorly against Val. A 6/6 that makes 3/3s is poor against Valakut triggers.
Right, we can clean up the worm on its own, and the lifelink is just not going to be enough. Joe needs to gain like 100 life, not just 30.
So Joe plays the star and passes. He played the power plant for that turn as well that he had found. Still missing a tower. You see Nature's Claim at the front of his hand. What Joe has to be careful about, all right, well, Adam will play a forest and get a counter on Colony Heart Expedition. I was going to say if Adam played a ramp spell, he has to be worried about Adam using a land drop as a fetch land if Joe's going to try to tag this Colony Heart Expedition.
Right. You could have the trigger on the stack, and then the fetch land's on the battlefield already. We could get another counter that way.
Adam will play Sakura Tribelder. We'll see. I think Joe's going to tag the Colony Heart here.
Use the mana while you have it.
Yeah. Chromatic Star sacrificed by the power plant, and he draws Urza's Tower. Uses Nature's Claim on the Expedition. Adam will go to 26. Tower, just the perfect draw for Lossett.
Yeah, having the Nature's Claim also very good there. This is looking a lot better than game one.
If his payoff is Karn, this could be game over.
Welcome to round 3. You have 50 minutes. You may begin.
Lossett will play Urza's Tower. Now 8 mana available to him. He'll tap 7. Big colorless payoff. It is Wormcoil Engine, and uses the green and the leftover colorless mana to cast another Sylvan Scrying. So this is a beatable card by Lou, especially with something like Sakura Tribelder in play.
Right, the first swing he'll be able to block with the Sakura Tribelder. The Wormcoil doesn't have trample. Sacrificing that creature before damage will prevent that first swing of the life gain. Also slows Joe's clock down, of course.
Joe thought about getting Urza's Tower, and now I was thinking, hey, maybe he needs Ghost Quarter. It looks like he's choosing Sanctum of Ugin, actually.
Yeah, he wants to make sure that if he finds something like a Karn, he can turn it into an Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, or another Karn to sweep up all of the lands on Adam's side.
Ulamog is not particularly easy for the Scapeshift deck to beat.
No.
Karn and Ulamog are the important finishers for Joe.
In fact, most decks will struggle against an Ulamog.
Yeah. There's no, like,
Path to Exile,
or
yeah.
Adam can't untap and combo. He needs his
Right.
lands, so hitting 2 lands with Ulamog is pretty good.
Yeah.
You see Sakura Tribelder will go ahead and actually sacrifice on end step to get a mountain.
Signals that Adam has plans for all of this mana on the following turn.
He'll only get up to 5, so I'm not certain what that is.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Keep in mind, because Joe has dealt no damage to himself, he's at 20. If Adam wants to Scapeshift, just a lands plus Scapeshift kill, he needs 8 lands in play instead of 7. The next number is 36. If that Wormcoil Engine hits Joe above 36 life, then Adam will need a 9th land. So Adam plays Explore, Sakura Tribelder, 1 land, but does not have the extra land drop. He'll pass.
So just cycling the Explorer. It's certainly not what he wanted to be doing. Presumably, if there were a land drop, there's another 2 mana spell that Adam had access to, and that's why he cracked the first Sakura Tribelder.
That is the Explore versus Farseek dilemma in the deck. Explore can cost 1 mana when you play an untapped land off it, but it also sometimes doesn't ramp you.
Yeah. It's a small risk. Pretty high reward in a lot of situations, though.
Wormcoil Engine will attack. Adam will block. Before damage, he'll sacrifice his snake and go get another mountain. That's now land 6 on the battlefield. He can get up to 8 lands if he has a Search for Tomorrow. He can Search for Tomorrow into Scapeshift.
Yep. That's a little bit shy of lethal. That would get him to 7 lands, and the Scapeshift was 7 lands, so that's the 18 point.
Yeah, he'd have to have land out of hand. He'd have to go land out of hand, search Scapeshift to win.
And we already saw he'd have to draw the land at the top and already have
The other two.
Scapeshift and Search.
So unlikely. Joe will cast Sylvan Scrying. Looks like he gets a Grove of the Burn Willows and plays it. Just Wormcoil Engines for the moment, and he'll pass back to Adam Liu. This is another one of the spots where not having Sanctum of Ugin really does seem to matter for his deck. I think if he had, or not Sanctum, Eye of Ugin.
Right.
He could tutor up an Ulamog and just cast it.
Right.
And that would put this out of reach.
Yeah, he found a Sanctum of Ugin, but he has not demonstrated the ability to play that and cast a 7 mana colorless spell.
New plan from Lou. Summoner's Pact, Primeval Titan, getting a pair of Valakut's.
Summoner's Pact, of course, does not put the creature on the battlefield. Those lands will be tapping here. And so now the Primeval Titans here. We have 2 Valakut the Molten Pinnacles.
So there is some danger, though, with a card like Summoner's Pact.
Right, Summoner's Pact, you have to pay green 2 on the following upkeep or you lose the game. If Ulamog was good before, in the face of 3 green sources from Adam, it actually just wins the game.
So Wormcoil Engine will attack. Adam's just going to take. And then don't risk that Primeval Titan. Here's Sanctum Mugen from Joe. Here's some big mana. It's another Wormcoil Engine that's not big enough to crack the Sanctum. He has to have a 7 mana colorless spell. And now we go back to Lou. That die on top of the deck reminding him to pay for the debts he's incurred.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, as someone plays a lot of Red Green Scape Shift, I don't know if I've ever lost a game where I've untapped with Primeval Titan.
No, even in the face of Wormcoil Engine, there are 2 Valakuts on the battlefield, so it won't be too difficult to get that and the Death Touch token that it can produce out of the way.
I mean, watch this. Colony Heart Expedition, counter on Colony Heart Expedition. I mean, Adam's going to kill Joe maybe this turn.
Earlier we saw the weakness of Colony Heart Expedition. This turn we're seeing the strength.
Yeah, Undying with Primeval Titan is unbelievably powerful in this deck. He'll crack the fetch land. So I don't think he wants to crack this fetch land yet. And it doesn't matter, but that is probably not correct. He'll get Cinderglade. He'd like to attack with Primeval Titan, get Valakuts 3 and 4. It depends what else. And then once he has 4 Valakuts in play, crack all his Colony Hearts and fetch lands.
All roads lead to Rome.
Oh, there's gonna be a lot of damage. it's very good. Primeval Titan, it's a great card. It is the strong. I will go so far as to claim it is the best tutor in Modern. That's kind of where I come down on it. I don't like creatures, but I like this one.
I assume that you're right. No, I'd say that Chord of Calling's the best tutor in Modern.
Big play here for Joe. Adam attacks. With the trigger on the stack, Joe will use Nature's Claim on Colony Heart Expedition. But Adam's going to go ahead and get more lands. Remember, 2 Valakuts in play. It's 5 mountains, so he can get land Valakut and get 3 Lightning Bolt triggers here.
I'm a big fan of 3 Lightning Bolts.
He will lose his Primeval Titan, as we'll see here in a second. So get Stomping Ground Valakut, 3 triggers on that he gets to throw around.
Yep, we kill the Wormcoil Engine, we get to keep the Titan.
Well, the Death Toucher will kill the Titan then.
Right.
The trick, if Adam wanted to save, there's no real way to do it.
Yeah. Needs a way to get rid of the Death Toucher. Just can't have anything blocking the Titan.
Yeah, and you can't go 6 to the Wormcoil and 3 to the Death Toucher because you have to put all these triggers on the stack at the same time.
Right. Could have like a backup Lightning Bolt in his hand to just do it the natural way.
So what he's doing is he's actually going to Nature's Claim the Wormcoil Engine. Depending on how he's timed this may not work. When you actually get the lands, you have to immediately announce your targets.
Right.
So I think Joe is going to ask the judge if this works. What Adam wants to do here is claim away the Wormcoil Engine, use the Valakut triggers to kill the 3/3s, and then get damage in. He has sequenced wrong to do this.
Right. He needs to be able... But the triggers are on the stack before he's casting this Nature's Claim. They have to have targets.
Right. Now, it's out of order sequencing, so the judge gets to make a call on whether or not he'll allow the play from Adam.
Right.
And I think Joe's explaining this too. If, hey, your play works, but you're doing it wrong. Once you've already shown me the lands, I'm not sure. And he's probably asking the judge, I'm not sure that he can make this play anymore.
Right. Joe's saying, if we're playing on Magic Online, this doesn't work. Is there anything in the way this was communicated? Is the intention clear?
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
We'll let you know what the judge's ruling is on this one. I could see this one going either way, personally.
Yeah. It depends a lot what the players were saying in situations like this. But
yeah. So what I think that this decision was, no, you have to announce your Valakut triggers. Apologize there. So announce them, and he'll go 2 at the Wormcoil, maybe 3 at the Wormcoil, and now perhaps Adam wants to Nature's Claim away the Death Touch Worm.
right, the claim, of course, back in his hand now.
Yep. So he put the claim back in his hand and said, Adam, you have to name your Valakut triggers. You have to name your Valakut targets before you can cast the Nature's Claim.
Right.
And so Adam decides to kill the Wormcoil. He went 2 triggers at 1 Wormcoil, 1 trigger at the second. He uses Lightning Bolt to finish off the second Wormcoil Engine. And now here are some creatures, which does mean Joe will get to kill the Titan.
Yeah, there's 2 Death Touch blockers now.
I think I would have liked to have seen him just get rid of all the Death Touch cards and keep Titan alive.
Yeah, earlier it seemed like there were a lot of different ways we could sequence this, maybe just leave some damage on the board and maybe not play optimally and win, but this sequencing
Joe will get to kill Titan. That's the problem.
Joe can just throw all 4 worms in front of you. 2 lifelinking creatures have the same effect as a Death Touch creature against a 6/6.
But keep in mind, there's 3 Valakuts in play, and with a lot of 3/3s on Joe's side, 1 mountain from Adam kills all of Joe's creatures.
Yeah, Joe's not out of this yet. Nobody said that.
Like, the spaceship deck's very redundant. So Titan will go down. We'll see what the block was made. Joe lost, looks like both his Death Touch creatures. Because he knew about the Nature's Claim, he didn't want to only put 1 in front.
Right. If it was just 2 spells, I could have seen it before blocks. I would have put all 4 worms in front. Maybe he even did that.
Chromatic Star from Lossett. He needs to find Ulamog and get these Valakuts off the board probably this turn.
Yeah. Really wants to find that Ulamog.
Finds Urza's Tower, so 2 more pieces of Tron in hand. That's a lot of mana, but nothing to do with it. Here's a swing with the 2 worms. It's 6 lifelink. Adam down to 20, Joe go up to 32. But every land drop for Adam is dealing 9.
Step 1, probably cleaning up these worms.
You might wonder, will Adam run out of mountains? Will he run out of Valakuts? The red-green deck, this is unlikely that Adam is going to run out of damage.
There's 6 on the battlefield already.
Total count is 13 in the deck.
Okay.
You see he plays a land and cleans up all of the worms. We'll go back over to Joe. And he's found Ulamog. This is huge. Okay, wait, we have a turnaround. It was Shatterstorm by Adam Liu to take care of the worms. But Joe, he'll play Ulamog. And with that Sanctum of Ugin, it was the draw that Joe needed.
Yeah, get 2 of those Valakuts out of here.
Oh my goodness. So Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. Joe's going to decide if he's going to go for Lose Mountains or his Valakuts. I imagine it's the Valakuts.
Right. You could try to put Adam at a threshold where he doesn't have enough mountains to trigger the Valakut, but why not just go to the source?
Ulamog will ceaselessly eat away 2 of the Valakuts. He's going to trigger Cracking Sanctum of Ugin. We'll see what he wants to find. He has another Ulamog and World Breakers in his deck as well.
Ulamog's Hungry and Molten Pinnacles are on the menu.
Once the Valakuts are gone from Adam's library, it's very difficult for Adam to win the game.
Well, then we're looking at Primeval Titan attacking against Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger attacking.
Yeah, let's be clear. The Scapeshift deck cannot get rid of Ulamog. Adam will need the card Scapeshift proper to win from here. It still should work. Joe is under 36 life, so if Adam draws Scapeshift, I believe he can shift for the win, but he doesn't have it, and we go back over to Joe Lossett. He has Ulamog in play. He has another Ulamog in hand that he found off the Sanctum.
Well, the second Ulamog can get rid of the Valakut on the battlefield. The first Ulamog can exile a number of cards from 20 cards out of Adam's library. That could get all the mountains. That could get the second Valakut. This trigger might just end the game.
Adam's not even going to let it go to that point. Scapeshift as a strategy is very weak to mill. It's almost certain that after exiling 20 that Adam has no outs.
Right. He knows that nothing good's going to happen after this trigger resolves, and maybe he has some sideboard information he wants to conceal. Picks it up here. Joe picks up the win in game 2.
And a huge draw for Joe Lossett. He had about 1 turn to find that Ulamog. He finds it just in time.
Yep, and the Nature's Claim on that early turn on that early Colony Heart expedition, that was a big swing for Joe.
Huge that Joe claimed. He claimed two Colony Hearts that game.
Yep.
And that's kind of the danger. So Colony Heart expedition is this double-edged sword. It's your best ramp spell, but it's often your worst ramp spell.
High risk, high reward. Similar vein to the Explorers in the deck. Go big or go home.
Yeah, I'll admit I'm not a fan of Colony Heart for that reason. But when it works, boy, is it good.
Yeah, there's statisticians and there's gamblers. I'm going to tell you which group has more fun. I like rolling the dice. I like Adam's approach here. Players possibly revisiting the sideboard. Joe could be evaluating how much he actually wants these nature claims, or if he just wants more copies on the draw to make sure he can get in front of an expedition in game 3.
All right, so Joe Lossett here at 9-1, hoping to improve to 10-1. The Oarsman here putting up quite the tournament result. Now, we actually had some of his matches on camera yesterday. If you missed that action, you can follow us both live and archived on YouTube. We have a channel the SCG Live channel. There's a lot you can see there. We have the Versus Series videos. This is some of the top pros of Roanoke facing off against each other, exploring different formats, different sideboarding plans. We have our premium archives of all the premium content videos that you see on the strategy site. We have archives of all our SCG Tour events, including Joe's win yesterday over Obzon Company. That one, a very interesting matchup between the two. If you know, Obzon Company is the top deck right now in Modern. If you want to see how to beat it with something like Tron, Joe having a great match for that. And then we have a lot more unboxings, all of that on our YouTube channel. So follow us there.
Yeah, that was a marathon match yesterday. Really good content.
So on to game 3. The exiling of the lands is Joe's plan, as we saw there with Ulamog.
The big mana Stone Rain deck.
If Joe has something like a turn 3 Karn or turn 4 Ulamog, it's likely faster than anything Adam can do.
Right. It's less good on the draw, but turn 3 Karn is the game plan here. That's exactly what Joe wants.
The scary part from Adam Lou's side is that if Joe has turn 3 Karn, there is not much Adam can do about it.
Yeah, the best he can do, it's going to exile one thing, guaranteed. It's going to get the first activation.
Yeah, he hopes he has a lightning bolt.
Right, we can clean it up that way. In some games, Joe will just be able to plus the Karn first, and then on the following turn, things can get pretty messy.
When Joe's on the play, he can plus the Karn.
Yes.
And then it's never going away.
Right, and in a lot of games, he won't be able to plus it on the draw. So there is that. Being on the play is an advantage for Adam. There's no question about that.
This is a racing matchup.
Oh, yeah. Joe has yet to see a 7-card hand that he's liked.
And going back to 6 again. Joe Lossett, number 3 on the leaderboard from Redlands, California. He's part of Team Nerd Rage Gaming, which is actually based in the Chicagoland area, along with teammates Caleb Shear, Eric Hawkins, Matthew Tickle. Shear missing day 2. Tickle actually in day 2 playing the red-green Scapeshift deck. Joe has 19 Open Series top 8s, including 5 wins. It's one of the most impressive resumes here on the SCG Tour, even more so that he does it from his home in California. 2 invitational top 8s, still that invitational win. But one of the most prolific Magic the Gathering streamers. He's Oarsman79 on Twitch. If you haven't followed him, you want to take a chance to look at him there.
Oh, yeah. His channel's pretty entertaining. He's got good taste in music, which is something that is not a given with Magic streamers. But anyway, Joe often touted as a legacy specialist. Of course, he's excellent at piloting miracles, but he's got chops in Standard and Modern as well. There's no question about that. Certainly having a great tournament this weekend. And for as good as he is at Legacy, you have to imagine he's pretty happy to not be playing the Classic today.
Yeah. Looks like Adam re-sleeving some cards here.
Yeah, we've played 10 rounds of Magic. That's bound to happen. Maybe you should invest in some Ultimate Guards.
I actually got to use some Ultimate Guard sleeves this weekend. I really like them. So
I am very particular about the way that the sleeves shuffle, and I will say Ultimate Guard passes my test.
Yeah, so if you're wondering, okay, this is some technical about sleeves. The matte-backed sleeves that have become popular, they're the kinds that they're very low pressure to shuffle, so they slide very, very easily.
Right.
The Ultimate Guard sleeves are in that matted style.
Yep, the corners don't catch on each other.
Right. Now, one of the things is when I usually find those matted sleeves, I really like how they shuffle, but they break so easily. I haven't had that problem with these ones, which is why I'm kind of into them.
Yeah, they're very high quality.
Turn 1, Adam starts off on a Wooded Foothills for Joe Lossett. It is Urza's Mine to Expedition map.
Joe's on that path to the turn 3 Karn. Maybe not.
Maybe not. Yeah, Adam might want to blow that map up. Adam's gone heavy on stuff like Shatterstorm out of the sideboard and Artifact Destruction. You see he natures claims away the map.
Yeah, Claim was a good play for Joe in Game 2, and here's the claim from Adam in Game 3.
And now he'll play the Colony Heart Expedition. We go back over to Lossett. Joe may not have been expecting that. I don't know if he can even play around it. He'd have to have 3 lands if he were to.
Yeah, in particular, when his game plan is that turn 3 Karn, you really don't have the luxury of playing around that.
Chromatic Star, Urza's Tower. Okay, Joe had turn 3 Tron, so well played by Adam. Joe will crack the star to draw a card, make a green mana. Draws another Urza's Tower. It's close, but it's a duplicate. He'll play Ancient Stirrings. Expedition map among the top 3. Another, I think the other 2 Urza's Towers. But he did find Power Plant in the top 5, so that makes it easy. He'll find the third Tron piece. Adam is on notice.
Didn't even need the map.
Now, big turn by Adam. Got to untap with Colony Heart Expedition. Can he crack that, find some mountains? It is not unreasonable that he can make 3 landfall triggers this turn.
Yep. Fetch land step 1. If he has a ramp spell, he's there.
Wooded Foothills, 1 counter on the Expedition. But just a pass. Big win for Lossett. Draws another Power Plant. Look at Joe.
If Joe can either get Karn online this turn or has a Nature's Claim to get rid of that Expedition, that would be a big win for Joe on this turn.
Well, we saw Joe pick up an extra copy of Urza's Tower, which means Karn this turn or Ulamog turn 4 are both on the table where his lands are concerned.
Yeah. That exact curve
is unbeatable.
Right. He's not playing at the pace of somebody with a turn 3 Karn. I will say that much.
If your opponent sat here for a minute and then played Karn and exiled your land, you'd lose it. I'd lose it.
My car would be hearing about it.
You wouldn't believe what he did here. And you see Joe, despite he doesn't have the finisher at all, his play for the turn is basic forest and Ancient Stirrings. And 2 Karns here on top. He'll take one of them, but it'll be a turn later. And he'll just pass. Adam cracks the Wooded Foothills, 2nd counter on Colony Heart Expedition. That was Joe's window. Now things are going to get dicey. A lot of lands are about to come into play.
Yeah, we're entering a zone of danger, I would say.
Ooh, okay, all right. Stomping ground for Lou.
Some kind of danger zone.
Thank you.
Yeah, on this following turn, that Expedition, another land will put that to 3 counters. That'll find 2 more lands. They'll enter the battlefield tapped, so we're not actually in Primeval Titan territory, but we are getting into active Valakut territory. We're getting into Scapeshift territory.
Yeah, Scapeshift is a very scary card. Now remember that both players know that Joe has a Karn next turn to take care of 1 land. So Adam will need these double ramp spells like Colony Heart Expedition.
Right, and with the Karn being a turn behind catching that, the Karn only is able to deal with 1 land.
Yeah, Joe still needs to find something like 2nd Karn, Ulamog. And here is land number 4 for Adam, and now we see 3 counters on the Expedition. And a pass from Lou, no more ramp spells. That's another win for Joe.
Yeah, this kind of play suggests that Adam is maybe flooded on mana, maybe drew more of those awkward artifact destruction spells.
Yeah, he's got things like lightning bolts in his hand right now.
Yeah, needs some payoffs, just has some interaction against a battlefield of all lands, and those aren't the spells that he can interact with.
So Joe draws the turn, he plays the 3rd Tron piece, 8 mana in play, looks at the Karn in his hand. You mentioned before how Adam Lightning Bolt actually serves a good purpose against Karn.
Yeah, if Joe goes ahead and uses the -3, the Lightning Bolt will be able to wrap up the rest of the Karn. Karn starts on 6 loyalty, of course.
So Joe will play the Planeswalker here. -3, he will exile the Stomping Ground. Pass the turn. Adam will fetch.
Now, in the face of so many lands and the Expedition, there were 3 on the battlefield. The Expedition would put it up to 5. A land drop means that Adam was in Primeval Titan territory on the following turn. So I don't believe that Joe had the option to +4 on that turn. He just had to go for the land.
Yeah, this is the first time Adam's had the option to untap with 6 mana sources, which is a danger.
Right.
If Adam has a Primeval Titan in hand and an untapped land, he will get to make the 6/6. And at that point, Joe would need Ulamog. 2 forests tapped by Adam. He will Lightning Bolt down the Karn.
Yeah, taking care of that one on the end step.
A draw for Adam. And is it prime time? We will see. Land 6. Indeed it is. Here comes the 6/6. It's going to go get whatever he wants. Probably 2 Valakutes. It's the math on that one. This is no Amulet Bloom. This is basically what Primeval Titan gets all the time.
Yeah, there's nothing fancy going on here.
No, it's always Valakutes. Sometimes Mountains, but usually Valakutes.
If you have an Omen, you get both.
Yeah, it's always you definitely get Valakutes. Now we're back to Joe. Needs Ulamog to save him. I don't know that he drew it.
Yeah. Once again, the pacing is just off for somebody who has the Windmill Slam play.
He was able to top deck Ulamog just in time last game. It's going to be harder this time. 5 mana for Joe. The danger is cards like Oblivion Stone really don't do anything against the Scapeshift deck. That's going to be Joe's play. He'll play Stone and Scrying. So we'll get Sanctum of Ugin. Now, does this mean he can't... He's going to be a mana short on sacrificing this Oblivion Stone if he plays Sanctum.
If the Sanctum is the play, right. I assume that it'll be a different Tron piece on this turn and the Sanctum on the following turn.
Okay, you're right. Urza's Tower is the play for Joe. But this is the neat part about Primeval Titan is that it doesn't really matter if your opponent kills it.
The damage is done. The
Yeah,
Valakutes are
there's
already
2
on the
Valakutes.
battlefield. On the following turn,
Every mountain is 6 damage right now.
yeah.
One more, if Adam has a second Primeval Titan in hand, for example, that's game.
Yeah, 24 is within the range of damage that Adam can potentially do on this turn.
Play a mountain, play a ramp spell. He'll go to attacks. Joe will crack the Oblivion Stone to get rid of the Titan. Oh my. Is it another Primeval Titan? That would be lights out. Yeah, here's 6 mana. Think that might just be it.
Looks like
It's a Summoner's Pact, yep.
right?
For another Primeval Titan. Gets Valakut number 3. And Cinderglades, that's 9 damage.
So now Adam once again finds himself with 3 green sources.
Yeah, this is I think a misstep here from Adam. I would like to have seen, if he doesn't have another land in hand, I'd have liked to seen him get 2 green sources if he was going to have to Summoner's Pact for this Titan.
Right.
I mean, Joe has to top deck Ulamog, but Adam would lose on the spot.
Right. Previously, the Ulamog was very good for Joe, but it wasn't necessarily game over.
I mean, if he gets 2 Cinderglades, there is, of course, okay, there we go, he plays a forest.
Okay, good, we had it.
The danger is if he gets 2 Cinderglades, then the Ulamog exiles both the Valakuts, but he's safe.
We would still be able to top deck Scapeshift for the win, right?
Yeah. Joe draws Chromatic Star. Digging for that last answer. He'll play the star. He'll sacrifice it. He gets 1 more draw. Is it good? Urza's Tower is not going to do it. Joe has lands in hand, and he'll extend the hand. Adam Liu with red-green Scapeshift improving to 10-1 as he defeats Joe Lossett in 3.
Yep, game in the match for Adam. Well played with the Scapeshift deck. It's just a good matchup for him. Joe did stumble a little bit. We saw him to mulligan to 5, 6, and 6. And didn't quite have the Karns that he wanted as early as he wanted them. And
this matchup, I think, looked tougher for Joe than it actually is, and the mulligans contributed to that.